And welcome back to episode number 93 of Raise the Banner podcast. There is a police siren going by, I'm guessing, Zach's house. But we're back.
Oh,
Was it your house, Ben?
no, I thought it was yours.
No, it's my house. I
No.
just muted myself. So
I mean,
I,
I
I
mean,
can play the police. I can play the police siren, and people will
Matt,
think that that's happening here.
Matt, I totally profiled you because I was like, well, Matt lives in Lowell. It's clearly him.
that's the real Tyreek Hill soundtrack right there.
Yep.
All right, hold on. I got a police siren. I think I could play it.
I won't be able to hear it.
There we go. It sounded exactly the same. But anyways, we're back. Episode number 93. The New England Patriots 5-2. I think that I speak for all three of us where we say we're in a pretty good spot right now in terms of vibes are high. Vibes are as high as I think as high as we could have expected.
Vibes are as high as Cheech and Chong on a sunny beach somewhere in the Caribbean.
I don't even know what that means, but
All right. Educate yourself. For the record, Cheech and Chong are like the most notorious pot smoking people like in the history of weed.
Isn't that like Bob Marley?
No, more than Bob Marley.
All right. Well,
Bob Marley was real, and Cheech and Chong is a TV show.
And with that take, I'll let you start us off. Give me your thoughts. We're through week 7. They just went into Tennessee, took another dub. They're coming home to face the dreaded Cleveland Browns. No, we don't play the Giants until later in the season when we face Jameis Winston as a backup. Where are you feeling right now? How's it going?
Things are great. They were not feeling great through the first quarter when Cam Ward threw for 101 yards. It was hard to. So I was watching from afar. I shout out to my buddy Eric. We try to do a fall get together from with buddies from high school. So we planned it for this weekend, and it turned. It went a little sideways. We're getting old, and he must not have had his prune juice because he developed tendonitis in his elbow, and so our guys' weekend turned into a work weekend. But driving back from upstate New York, struggled to find a radio station in the rural area of Vermont to listen to the game, so I had to follow along on my phone. Do the best you can. First world problems, but didn't look good early. Cam Ward looked way too comfortable from what I understood for way too many yards in the first quarter. And I think I even texted Matt and said, "Are the Patriots going to lose this game?" ? But they quickly put the hammer down.
I said no.
He did say I think you said nah. You didn't even say no. It wasn't even a start. You were like, nah, get out of here, Dirth. But yeah, I mean the team looked good. Drake May continues to play really, really well. He had great touchdown pass to Kayshon Boutte. Not that the Austin Hooper pass wasn't great, but Austin Hooper made a hell of a play. He mossed somebody. And it was, I will say, very refreshing to finally see them do something in the ground game. It's been a struggle all year. Ramondre got, for the most part, whatever he wanted. I'd have to look at the final numbers. What he finished with 18 carries for 80 some odd yards and a touchdown, kind of in that ballpark. So well-rounded win. They have the I dare not call it a scoop and score, even though that's what it was. Cam Ward gifted them a defensive touchdown because he went to go throw the ball and forgot that you're not just supposed to drop it. Good plays all around. I thought they got after the quarterback really well, much better than they have. Take it with a little bit of grain of salt. I mean, you could make the argument that Tennessee, maybe next to the Jets, might be one of the worst teams in the league this year. But they took care of business. They did exactly what they needed to do. They did not fall victim to I don't know what the exact phrase was that bounced around on radio, like the interim coach bump or boost, whatever they were calling it. Something like since 2005, teams were 15-5 or 15-6 against the spread in the first game following firing their head coach, which they did not cover, as we are well aware. But yeah, I mean, vibes are high. The pass are rolling. I mean, we talked about the stretch of games moving forward that, we were looking at 3 straight road games. So they got one more, right? Or is Cleveland at home? Cleveland's at home.
Home.
So they got
next to her at home.
So they got Cleveland at home, who, say what you want about the Dolphins. The Cleveland Browns took care of business. I will say, I'll leave you with this, that Drake May became the first Patriots quarterback in the history of the franchise to win back-to-back-to-back road games. Yes, you heard that correctly. Not even the great quarterback that is Tom Brady, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Tom Brady never did that in his illustrious career as a New England Patriot. Can't say that for the Bucs. Didn't really look it up. But Drake May is the first and only quarterback in Patriots franchise history to win back-to-back.
Brady had 4 chances.
He had 4 chances and obviously didn't do it.
Over his 20 years here, or 18 years.
So cool little tidbit. Clearly Drake May is him. They should unretire number 12 so that Drake May could change his jersey number. But no, just kidding. Yeah, I mean,
Zach, I'll ask you the question. I asked Bennett this morning, do you think Tom Brady will show up to Drake May's statue unveiling in 20 years?
Depends on if Bill's invited or not. I think if Bill's there, then Brady won't show up. But
I think in all likelihood, Bill will be in a grave somewhere or
that's true. But then, yeah, I think that's a good point.
If Bill's still trucking along in 20 years, then he's either going to be in a wheelchair or
he has the right to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a-holes do tend to live forever. And now he has a 24-year-old to help keep him young. He might live to see his midnight. I mean, yes, she is a solid D- of a human being, but very easy on the eyes. I mean, Bill may live to see, what is he, 73? Bill may live to see his mid-90s at this point. I mean, like I said, a-holes tend to live forever. And
also, Drake May was the first has the highest completion percentage in Patriots history in a game that at minimum 20 pass attempts.
Yeah,
he sure does.
Yeah, he broke Brady's record. He had like 91% completion, and Brady had like 88 or something like that.
Yeah, his numbers since week 2 are just it's just
absurd.
Flat out absurd. It's just flat out absurd. He's at a 78% completion percentage. That's just it's we're at the point, and maybe this has been rubbing off on me over the years where because I'm generally a pretty optimistic person when it comes to sports and the Patriots and stuff like that.
To those listening, please dial in real hard. Matt does not ever admit that I rub off on him, so this is going to be good.
Yeah, and so he usually is the opposing arguer, the opposing argument to me in trying to reel me back in a little bit. And the other half of the argument is sometimes he's just being flat out miserable because he's in his mood. And it's not all the time me just being optimistic. Sometimes he's just being miserable. But anyways, so I've been really trying to be all right, I don't want to be that guy to be overly optimistic or throw out crazy takes when it comes to Drake May. But the way he's not just playing good, and he's really not just playing great. He's playing flat out elite.
And his completion percentage is he's not dinking and dunking. He's not throwing check downs and slants. He's throwing deep balls. He's throwing he's throwing great throws.
There's been nobody better in football since week 2.
No,
I would agree. You do have to issue a retraction. Drake May does not have a 78% completion percentage. It is 75.2
since week 2.
Since week 2.
So wait, he's 78% since week 2. What kind of stat is that?
Well, week 1 he was
Since
kind
week
of
2,
lousy.
78% completion percentage.
He had a kind of lousy week 1 where he was him and McDaniels were kind of finding their common ground, and since week 2 he's been lights out.
Yeah, since week 2 he's only had one game where his completion percentage was below 70%.
I posted his stats since week 2. It's just flat out absurd.
But even
Mahomes is.
Despite week 1 where he only completed 65% of his throws, he is 0.7% behind Jared Goff. Jared Goff leads the NFL 75.9%. Do they play tonight or are they off this week?
Yeah, they play tonight versus Tampa.
So we'll see. They kick off at 7. I knew Tampa was playing. I forgot who they were playing. But yeah, so Goff. So maybe
Houston and someone.
Seattle. It's a West Coast game.
I think it's Houston, Seattle. Yeah.
So May at 75.2%, Goff at 75.9%. So that could change after tonight. But to Zach's point, and Matt, you touched on it. So if you go by yards per pass attempt, not like the adjusted yards per pass attempt, I don't actually know how that works. But Drake May is second in the NFL in completion percentage. He is second in yards per attempt at 8.6. Sam Darnold is 9.6, which is just absurd. He leads the NFL. And Drake May, again, keeping in mind that he didn't throw for a ton of yards against Carolina. Drake May currently ranks 10th in yards per game, with the caveat that Carson Wentz, who through 4 games ranks 4th. So take that with a grain of salt. But Drake May, top 10 in yards per game, and he's second in yards per attempt and completion percentage, which, again, to Zach's point, means he's not just throwing the ball to a running back who's standing a yard in front of him, 2 yards away. He's throwing the ball, on average, just shy of a first down.
I mean, that throw to Mac Hollins yesterday was elite. The throw, it didn't count, even though it should have. The throw to Stephon Diggs against the Saints was an elite throw. He's making into windows that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and same with. I mean, I know that the touchdown to Pop Douglas that counted, he was open enough that it really wasn't like oh my God, he just squeezed it in there. Yeah. But both throws in and of themselves to Pop Douglas were like top notch downfield dimes.
And the throw to Diggs when he was backed up against his goal line and he puts it right in the bucket against the sideline. I think it was the third quarter, fourth quarter, something like that. I mean, they're just perfect, elite veteran QB throws that you shouldn't be making as your second.
Yep.
Your second year as a starter, and I don't even know, has he played enough games to warrant a full first season or full season, I should say.
Yeah, he's at 20.
He's at 20 starts now. Okay.
How many? He's got 19 starts.
Okay, so just over a full season.
Yeah, and to that point, if you want to talk about the throw to Austin Hooper, the first touchdown, yes, it was underthrown, but with a defender with his back turned, that's probably the second best spot you can put a pass.
Yeah.
Where if the defender's not looking, right, because if it's underthrown, you either get a catch or pass interference. The only other option is you throw it high enough for Austin Hooper to go get it, but you're giving the defender an opportunity to defend the pass without a penalty at that point. So I'm not saying he purposefully underthrew the ball to Austin Hooper, but putting it on the defender's back and not overthrowing Austin Hooper or throwing it where the defender can put a hand in is top-notch, elite, Pro Bowl, all pro level ball placement.
Yeah, 100%. He's putting it where people like Brady used to put it. It's an insane amount of
and
skill and timing and just being on the same page as your receivers for someone who's, like I said, just over a full NFL season as a starter.
Yeah, and the cool thing too, you talk about the arm talent. I feel like at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I did go back and catch highlights of the throw to Booty and some of these other throws. I feel like they're at times early in the season when you're looking at Drake May throw the ball downfield. And the Saints game falls into the same category as yesterday. These last two games really feel like you're not just seeing Drake May throw the ball down the field in raw distance, but you're actually seeing zip on the ball and actual like darts, not just 15, 20 yard like behind the linebacker in front of the safety touch passes, like both throws to Pop Douglas, the throw to Diggs that didn't count against the Saints, and then yesterday especially the throw to Kayshon Boutte. I feel like the Mac Hollins throw fits into the same thing too, but especially the one to Boutte, where he's not just throwing it downfield, but it's getting there with some heat behind it. It's not, he's adding in those rocket throws that you saw from Brady. And whereas especially towards the end of his career, there was some obviously the touch passes were always there, I feel like. And I just have memories of the times when he was just zipping balls to Edelman and Gronk, towards the end of that AFC title game against the Chiefs, where he's just throwing fastballs across the middle right into Edelman's gullet. And you're starting to see that more and more from Drake May. Like, you haven't really seen him, I think, unleash like a fastball over the middle, but you're seeing not just the touch pass downfield, but the rocket throw downfield, where it's like, I have to put some oomph behind this because I can't have a defender, slip underneath and possibly deflect the pass.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I think also like you're seeing just the evolution of May and Boutte's like connection. Like you said, I mean that touchdown throw was, he knows Boutte's speed. That was perfect of a throw as you're going to get. And for him to know, how fast Boutte has to run to get to this ball, where to put it, so he doesn't, as you said, underthrow him and get deflected, or worse, throw a pick. Like that timing, that connection is as solid as it gets, and only getting stronger. The same can be said for Diggs, right? I mean, like knowing where Diggs is going to be, knowing that Diggs is going to show late hands again on that sideline throw that he put it right in the bucket for. Like, these are great connections. He's starting to get a little bit more of that with Pop Douglas. We're starting to see more and more of him after a pretty uneventful first couple of weeks from Pop.
There was a point where he had like -6 yards receiving.
Yeah, he had like 3 catches for -6 yards and a touchdown. Like that, those stats shouldn't be a thing. And then even Mac Hollins comes in, kind of when you need him. We don't really expect him. Like he's a leader that this team needs. Both him and Vrabel are just the complete opposite of Gerard Mayo and Mac Jones. Like both vocal leaders. I mean, you saw the video of Drake May breaking it down at the end of the game yesterday, and he gave Vrabel the game ball after getting the game ball from Vrabel. Like the connection is there, the camaraderie is there, the confidence is at an all-time high. And again, I think Drake May, we're talking about him being in MVP conversations after week 7 or whatever week this is. Like it truly is not hyperbole to think that he should be in the MVP conversations. I mean, there really isn't any quarterback right now playing at a higher level than Drake May.
I agree. I mean, he's definitely in that MVP conversation. I mean, not to be glass half empty, but I think depending on how tonight's game goes, I think I still give a slight edge to Baker in the MVP conversation. But if here we are 7 games into the season, 7 weeks into the season, and I don't think you can realistically say that. I mean, outside of Baker Mayfield, it's Drake May, it's Jared Goff. I think the conversation kind of ends there. It's those 3 guys. And,
I would put Pat Mahomes in there right now.
I mean, yeah,
he's always going to get votes because of who he is and his past, no matter how.
He's playing very well too right now. Like he's playing good football. Granted, I think he's a line of scrimmage merchant that gets, I don't want to say carried by his offense, but that's a different conversation. But he's playing good football right now. There's no doubt about that.
But still, I mean, top 5. We just listed off 4, maybe 5 additional people in the conversation. Like that's such a feat to have.
Like I said, since week 2, I really don't think that you can say that there's been a better quarterback. Now there's obviously been an additional week to that, and when you include that first week, I think that puts Baker right next to him in that conversation. I think Baker is, right there, 1A, 1B, arguably ahead of him. And if he comes out and balls again tonight, then he might still be above him. But the talk of the MVP doesn't really matter. It's just the point of just emphasizing really how good Drake May has been for the Patriots.
Yep.
And kind of transitioning into Josh McDaniels is, first of all, Drake May might just turn in someone make an owner stupid enough to give Josh McDaniels a third chance. So eventually,
see, maybe, but I think he's burned too many bridges. Matt, before you dive into that, I want to give two numbers. First question: what was the Patriots over under preseason win total? 6.5, 7.5, right?
7.5.
7.5. Some had 7.5. Some had 8.5, but most were 7.5.
So, DraftKings specifically, the Patriots win total over under has moved, as you would have guessed. It is now 10.5, and the minus money is 10.5. They are a minus 145 to win 11 or more games, plus 120 to finish with 10 or fewer wins. And as of today, looking at it right now, Drake May is your fourth best odds to be the NFL MVP. Mahomes at plus 150, Baker Mayfield plus 320, Josh Allen plus 400. And then you actually get really, really good value. Drake May still sitting at a plus 950 to win the NFL MVP award.
Yeah, I think he's plus 1,000 on BetMGM too. We can go into the McDaniels topic in a second.
And Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel, second best odds, plus 320.
That's pretty good. Just because you brought it up, that I was going to want to get into that eventually. Anyways, the kind of win total is another topic I wanted to talk about. But more so, the floor has risen for this team, right? Before the season, we were talking about 9 wins, maybe 10 wins, 8 wins, somewhere in that range, 8 to 10 wins. We were thinking was the ballpark for this team. They're now sitting at 5-2, meaning they go 5-5 the rest of the way. They hit that 10-win mark. Mm-hmm. Now, if they go 5-5 the rest of the way and they hit that 10-win mark, I don't think any of us are going to be sitting here at the end of December, early January, and saying, "Well, that was good," right? Because we're going to be looking at it and then saying they probably lost multiple games over the next 2.5-ish months that they really should have won, and that they probably didn't play up to how we kind of expected them to play over the next 2.5 months. Would you guys kind of agree there that I would say the floor now is kind of, as you said, that the floor has now gone from 10 win, 8 to 9 to 10 wins max, to now it's really probably at that floor of 10 wins, but probably closer to the 11, maybe even 12 win ceiling.
Yeah, so you look at their schedule. I'm just bringing it up now. So as we just talked about, they're sitting at 5-2. They have the Browns this weekend, which is a game, and I'll say it. I think they have proven themselves worthy that we can now say the Patriots should, when it comes to accomplishments, the Patriots should beat the Cleveland Browns this weekend. The Cleveland Browns' biggest strength is the run game. The Patriots, this game, I'd have to look at the actual statistics. I don't know if any of the 4 teams playing tonight rank near the top. But the Patriots are currently the number 2 run defense in the NFL, and they are I think they're 25th or 24th. They're still not good versus the pass. Dylan Gabriel doesn't scare me, and the weapons in terms of offense that Gabriel is throwing to doesn't scare me. So, you look at a game this weekend, they should beat Cleveland. They're 7.5-point favorites. Atlanta's kind of a toss-up. They beat Buffalo at home 2 weeks ago. It's is Atlanta good? and then they kind of like laid a little bit of a dud on Sunday night. Last night they lose to the 49ers. Not a blowout, but they didn't really play very well.
They laid a big dud versus Carolina. Carolina's been playing some solid football, but they got their kind of ass handed to by Carolina.
Like Carolina's not 30-0 better than Atlanta, so laid a dud there. So some inconsistencies with Atlanta, but again, it's at home, so the Patriots should win that game. Then you get into at Tampa in 3 weeks. That's one of probably 3 games left on the schedule that are not the Patriots should win this game. That's one of the, it's a 50-50 game, especially where it's at Tampa. And if Matt Stradamus is correct, I suspect that game is flexed out of a 1 o'clock and goes into a primetime slot. And especially if Tampa wins tonight, whether they win next week or not, you'd have 2 potential 6-2 or a 6-2 versus a 7-1 team. So that game probably gets flexed to prime time. But then it's like, then you get into like, a weird part of the schedule. They have the Jets at home. They should be the Jets, but then it's at Cincinnati. That's not a should, especially where, we'll see what Joe Flacco does. Giants should win, but probably a better game than we might have expected considering how much better they are with Dart. And then Bills, Ravens, 50-50, and then they finish with 2 wins that, 2 games at New York and then home against Miami. Those are should wins. So if you look at it, that's should win Cleveland, should win Atlanta, should win the Jets twice, should win the Dolphins. So and should be the Giants. So those 6 games right there get you to 11 wins and 6 losses, assuming that they lose those quote-unquote toss-up games.
Crap. They could
Tampa,
maybe
Cincinnati, Buffalo.
They could maybe win 13 games.
Like
Potentially win 13 games.
Tampa,
that's not out of the ordinary.
Tampa, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Baltimore. Now, the tricky part about those 4 games that I would consider 50-50s, 3 of those 4 games are on the road. So, like, I think that what you just said, Matt, and Zach, you agreed, like, I really think that the ceiling of this team is 13-4. And if you had said, hey, Ben, I think the ceiling of this team is 13-4, like before week 1, I would be like, well, whatever you're on, I need some of that because I don't know where the optimism is coming from. I thought that in a perfect scenario, if everything unfolded, with the easy schedule and Drake May taking a step and other things falling into place and Mike Vrabel proving that he's the right guy for the job, like I thought 11 wins was what they could achieve in a perfect, like crystal ball scenario. And here we are 7 games into the season. And I'm sitting here like the Patriots should win 11 games. They should
walk into 11 wins.
Like their floor, again, barring injury, if Drake May, and we can get into this a little bit later, Drake May is not.
Tyler Lockett just requested and was granted his release from the Titans.
Really?
I wouldn't hate bringing him here, but I don't think there's a need for it.
There's
no real fit for him.
Unless you want, unless you have no faith in Eftham Chisholm as a wide or Kyle Williams as your wide receiver 5'6", and you want a veteran presence for a playoff push. That's really the only way I could see that.
Yeah,
but
there's no real.
He'll wait and try to. I think he'll be patient over the next couple weeks and try. He'll
probably end up in Kansas City or Buffalo, considering both of those teams.
Maybe back in Seattle.
Or back in Seattle, but yeah, just to kind of button up, like we're looking at a Patriots team that probably should finish at a bare minimum 11-6.
Yeah, we're at the point of the schedule where at the beginning of the season, like you said, we assumed they would pretty much have this record. I mean, maybe some whether it was winning, at Pittsburgh and losing to Buffalo, I would think most of the people you talk to would probably have us at 5-2, maybe 4-3 at the worst. I don't know anybody who really had us at under 500 at this point going into Cleveland and then going into Atlanta. It has always been the back half of the season that's going to be kind of the real gauntlet isn't the right word because it isn't that, but it's certainly the most up in the air. But I agree. They should absolutely
it's a mini gauntlet. Because of those 6
especially
games,
if Lamar's healthy in Baltimore,
right? And you figure that by that point, like if we were playing Baltimore next week, different story.
Yeah.
But they're off this week. Lamar's expected to be back healthy. And I think that we all kind of thought that the Bengals game would probably be a cakewalk, but that was pre-Joe Flacco trade.
Yeah, exactly.
And they look. I mean, Joe Flacco's a very competent quarterback who has, arguably the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver that any quarterback is going to throw to in the NFL.
And then Giants obviously with Scatterboo and Dart as well. Like, it's gotten a lot better since the beginning of the year.
For sure. And so I think that if they can take advantage of this, softer part of the schedule, then I think you can look at this and go, if they beat Atlanta and they beat Cleveland in the next 2 weeks, then that's 7-2. So it's like, so then it's like, okay, they can afford a loss to Tampa, because then they're sitting there at 7-3, and then you're going to come right back and you're going to slaughter the Jets. So that's 8-3. Then it's like, okay, then you're at Cincinnati. And it's like, okay, is that a game that you want to win? Yes. Is it detrimental to your plan if you don't? No. So ideally you win that game, because then you go into the Giants. So we're at a point where, and I think Matt said this before the Saints game, that 10 wins going into the bye was not unrealistic. And I mean, again, looking at their schedule, like, there's really only, in my opinion, 2 games on the schedule where you go, I don't know, but you figure Cleveland, that's 6 wins, Atlanta 7, Jets 8, Giants 9. So it's like, it's not unrealistic to think that they could be sitting there at 10-3, or if they can, if the chips fall right, and they, like, I think for the long term, losing to Cincinnati and or Tampa might be good for them. But, like, is it really that far-fetched to think they could be 11-2 at the bye week? Like, I don't think so.
What week is their bye week?
14.
No, that's not unrealistic to think about at all. I mean, I think, like I said, we've already Drake May's development up to this point of the season has kind of blown any expectations out of the water, and has certainly blown any predictions of like win totals and things like that, and win streaks out of the water as well, because you're like, okay, well, if he's playing as high of a level as he's been for the past, since week 2, then anything's really possible, despite their running game not being great. Now, obviously, they're going to start playing some better defenses and better run defenses and things like that, but anything's on the table. And I think, the floor, as we've all kind of mentioned, is absolutely 11 wins, and I think 12-5 is certainly, right? 12-5? Just 12. Yeah. 12-5 is absolutely, I would think but I'd be happy at 12-5. I'd be ecstatic with 13-4. I'd be like, okay, that's kind of where I expected them to be at this point in the season with 11-6.
At this point, I would say my expectation is probably 12 wins.
Expectation is 12 wins.
Interesting.
Okay. I like that.
So you're expecting them to finish 7-3? My math right on that?
Given
12
the schedule?
12. So what? Okay. So
you split one of the Baltimore and Buffalo games, assuming you lose to Tampa.
Like, given the schedule, like,
what? So figuring the 4 games that I think all 3 of us agree are their question marks. It's not a game that they should win. So it's at Tampa, at Cincinnati, Buffalo at home, at Baltimore. So that's 4 games in a 6-game stretch. Which one of those games would you say is the most likely that they win? Because in order to be 12-5, theoretically, like if we go off of that, the games they should win, they win.
I mean, Cincy has to.
They would have to win
be
one of those
likely.
4 games to get to 12-5.
Cincy has to be the most likely, simply because, one, their defense blows.
But what would you? Are you saying that because you would pick it, or that's what you think is the most likely? I'm curious. Of those 4 games,
I think it's the most likely win, because I think they're the worst team without, because, one, again, I think their defense blows. Two, Joe Flacco. Like, yes, he could come out and ball out, but yes, he could also come out and just absolutely suck at any game.
Yeah. They're the worst team of that 4 on the list.
Yeah. And I also think that, and I look at, based off what they did in Buffalo and how they're progressing and how Drake May is playing. And, not that I expect him to play at this peak level the entire rest of the season, but let's assume that he is hitting that stride, that he is going to be a top 10 quarterback the rest of the way, and, for the foreseeable future. That tells me that they're going to be able to compete with every team, right? They should be able to compete with every team. Tampa's a good team. Baltimore is, I will say, a good football team, but their defense kind of sucks too.
Yeah. My only question, my only reservation, I suppose, with saying that Cincinnati is, and a lot can change because we're at week 7, so the trade deadline is next week, right? It's before
2.5 weeks. They moved it back to week 9.
Oh, they did? Okay. I know it used to be week 8.
Yeah.
So obviously this is, we're talking today, right? So as the team is currently constructed, I would say I would feel the most confident against either the Bills at home or the Ravens on the road, simply because of the 4 teams, those 2 teams have the least dynamic weapons in the passing game. Obviously, so the Patriots are already they're in the bottom of the league or towards the bottom of the league in pass defense. So the idea of them covering Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I'm like, man, we'll see what happens at the trade deadline. And then same thing with
you're not more worried about the quarterback than the weapons.
Given who Joe Flacco is, and the fact that he is still a competent, serviceable quarterback in the NFL, I feel more confident in the fact that even as good as he is, as they are, I still think there's enough volatility with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson with how they play quarterback and the lack of elite pass catching options. I would feel more confident in that case than against a league average Joe Flacco with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase when the Patriots can't cover the pass. So now again, that
I get it.
If the Patriots address the and the passing defense situation and they can acquire a legitimate corner, or they go get like a coverage safety, like who knows what the trade deadline is going to bring. If they can bolster the defense to a point where it's like, okay, well now they have better pass defenders on the back end. I think again, like Matt, to your point, like, yes, I feel like, Joe Flacco's 40. So yes, he's competent. Yes, he's serviceable, but he's older than me, which I know is hard to do, but he's older. You don't know what you're going to get. It's going to be, late November in Cincinnati is not going to be a great weather day. So, especially it's like if they go into that week and it's going to be rainy and windy and they can't rely on the pass. Well, yeah, I would absolutely take our chances because our strength is against the run. I just don't feel super confident playing teams with competent quarterbacks and elite pass catchers, which is what Cincinnati and Tampa have. No, Baker is more than competent at quarterback, but that's why I would feel more confident in theoretically saying they could upset Buffalo or upset Baltimore. Assuming Lamar's healthy, I would expect them to be underdogs at Baltimore, but who knows about the Bills game? Yeah. But those 2, I would say.
For me though, it's about the defense. Like, I get your side of it, but like I look at Cincy's defense, and on top of the fact that like Lamar and Josh Allen are just significantly better quarterbacks than Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
I also look at the defenses of Cincy and Baltimore and say those defenses compared to like Tampa or Buffalo, like those defenses can come out and play a really good game. Cincy is a defense that I think that they should not be able to really stop Drake May.
No.
And even if, Chase and them have a good game, like if the unless they have a game like they did last week, which sure it can happen where they go out and do what they did against Pittsburgh last week. But sure that can happen. but they also could limit them enough where they comfortably win that game. And, Jamar Chase might get his numbers, but
Yep.
Patriots put up 31 points and they win 31-20, 31-23.
Yeah.
Like,
and
that's
on
going to be just bend don't break type of defense too against.
Yeah, and on that point about defense, so yards specifically, Tampa and Buffalo are middle of the pack. Tampa's 14, Buffalo's 15 in terms of yards allowed per game. Baltimore is 30th, and Cincinnati is 31st in terms of yards allowed per game. When you talk about and when you talk about points allowed, Baltimore is last. They allow 32.3 points per game. Now that's a little slanted because Houston put 44 up on them. And they're, they don't have Lamar, so the offense isn't going to be on the field. So a little bit of a grain of salt. Cincinnati is right behind them. They're 31st at 30 points per game. And then Tampa allows 25.2 points per game, which is like 22nd in the NFL. And then Buffalo's not much better at 22.8 points per game. And obviously we're talking about, I forget where Cincinnati finished last year. I think they were middle of the pack. Were they 9-8, 10-7 is something like in that? They were like 9-8. So, but obviously the other three teams were playoff teams. So they do play tougher teams because they have tougher schedules. But it's not like we're going to be facing a gauntlet of defenses. Even when we play against those four teams who, again, when healthy, are four of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yeah. Heading into this Cleveland game, we can kind of finish it up with a little bit of focus on this Cleveland game. What are your thoughts specifically? Obviously this is going to be, I don't think it's really even a conversation. This is going to be the biggest test for Will Campbell that you can possibly get. Coming off of what I would say was a below average game for him. Jared Wilson continues to really kind of have some struggles at left guard. So that's a position I would keep an eye out for this week. I would not be shocked if Ben Brown is the starting left guard for this week. He certainly has his struggles at left guard with Jared Wilson right now, but Will Campbell's going to have a daunting task against Myles Garrett. What are your overall thoughts in terms of like the absolute must for this team against a Cleveland Browns team that obviously is using a Dillon Gabriel that, he's certainly not a guy that's going to sling it around, but they can run the ball. They got some decent weapons with Jeudy, Njoku, Fannin. They got okay weapons. Obviously, the Patriots don't cover tight ends tremendously well. Between a solid run game, below average pass game, they do have a pretty good defense. What's your outlook this week in terms of what they need to do to make sure that they get a W here?
Yeah, I think you said it yourself. Like they got to double Myles Garrett. It absolutely was 100% is going to be the biggest test for this line, and certainly I would imagine they're going to put Myles Garrett over Will Campbell the entire game. Rookie, just get him as flustered as possible. If they can stop the pass rush, and I know Jared Wilson had a bad game last week, so if they do put in Ben Brown or whatever they do, if they can stop the pass rush, I don't know that there's really anyone else on that defense that like would scare me. But then on the offensive side of the ball, Judkins is definitely a concern. I think, yes, we are a good run defense team, a good defense against the run, but he can kind of do a number of things. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can go between the tackles. He can go outside. Like they'll kind of mix it up. And I don't get the sense that our linebackers are very good in pass coverage. I feel like that's kind of been a concern for a number of years, not even this year. But if they can contain Judkins, then Gabriel doesn't scare me. Their weapons are okay. Like Judy's good. He's just not having a good year. Fannin's fine, and Njoku's fine. But those are the two things that like really would concern me is if if they can't contain Myles Garrett and just let him free and don't give Will Campbell any help, or if they do line him up over Morgan Moses and don't give him any help, and he's just having his will against Drake May, that's a concern. And then of course, like I said, if they're able to just run all over us with Judkins, that's another concern. But outside of those two things, like, the team doesn't really scare me. Their quarterback is a rookie quarterback against, coming into Foxborough. It's not the same way it used to be. I know, like, you're not playing, Bill's not your head coach anymore, and you're not like giving rookie quarterbacks fits. But nothing in Dillon Gabriel's game is really stands out. So yeah, if you can contain just like I said, Judkins and Garrett, then you should have a relatively easy, path to victory.
Yeah, so a couple things. I mean, I'll reiterate, Zach, your point. If they can't keep Myles Garrett at bay, I mean, you're talking about the best pass rusher in the NFL. And he's going to put pressure on Drake May. They've got to scheme some of the offensive stuff. I think that this might be a phenomenal opportunity to utilize TreVeyon Henderson as a weapon out of the backfield to neutralize Myles Garrett on the left side of the offensive line. If he's going to get super aggressive and you beat Will Campbell, then they've got to have quick outlets to somebody, whether it's TreVeyon, quick hits to Diggs, Douglas, like whoever. They've got to have that in their back pocket, because if they can't protect him, that has to be plan B. Like, plan B needs to be a double team, and whether it's, whether you believe in Jared Wilson's ability to pair up with Will Campbell and double or not, whether it's him, or if you have to bring in Ben Brown, like, Brown needs to be ready to go. I think that you have to even say, hey, I think even if Brown has to be ready to play center and Bradbury needs to kick off to the left side to help double team with Myles Garrett, then you do what you got to do. But the nice backup needs to be, scheming certain plays, slants, in cuts, dig routes over the middle. Like, you've got to have quick outlets for May, because you can't keep Myles Garrett at bay for an entire game. It's unrealistic. In terms of the other side of the ball, where Pat's defense against the Browns offense. So Dillon Gabriel is not a scary passer. Since he became the full-time starter, he has passing yard totals of 190, 221, and 116 yards. Like, they hung a 31 spot on Miami, and he threw for 116 yards. I think that speaks to the offense you're dealing with. Where he's not a scary quarterback. I think that they can really, not fully, but really key in on Judkins out of the backfield. Obviously, that's the Patriots' strength, is stopping the run. Given what we're looking at in terms of like the Pats offense against the Cleveland defense. So Cleveland has a pretty good defense. Yards allowed per game, they are the number one defense in the NFL. They're middle of the pack in terms of points allowed at 21.7, but they only allow 256 yards a game, and they don't really allow anything to really beat them. I'd have to look at their schedule to see, like, okay, well, is that a byproduct of their schedule, or like how good are they really? I know that they have talent on the other side of the ball, but they're only giving up 173 yards through the air, and they're only giving up 82 yards on the ground. Obviously, those are per game stats. So, to me, this kind of feels like it's going to be like a knockdown, drag out fight, where the Pats, unless they can, pull a defensive score or a special team score, like, this feels like you're like just a dog fight, like 24-20, 23-21, 20-17 type of game. But again, I think it starts with keeping Myles Garrett at bay by any stretch of the imagination. Nothing else scares me. The one thing I would look at would be the Patriots' ability to get after Dillon Gabriel heading into Week 7, which is, we haven't completed it yet, so Pro Football Focus has yet to update their rankings. Headed into this week, they had Cleveland with the worst offensive line grade in all of football. So if the Patriots can get after the quarterback and just keep Myles Garrett from wrecking Drake May for 60 minutes, this is a game that, maybe it's an ugly win. Like you figure out a way to get out of there with a 21-17, 21-13 type of win. This to me feels like an opportunity where if the Patriots hold Myles Garrett at bay and Drake May goes for 250 and 2 to 3 touchdowns and it's a convincing win and Drake May dominates against a defense that's been really good through 7 games. Like that's just another notch in the belt for Drake May to make an argument for being an MVP candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be looking. You guys said it pretty well. What everything needs to look for. Basically, I'm going into this week. I think that they'll. I'm expecting them to come out victorious, and I'm looking at something in the range of like, a 26-27. I'll go 26-17 win. Something in that range. And in a perfect world, Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, Grant Delpit isn't getting on the plane to return to Cleveland. He's staying in New England in contact with whoever is in real estate with the team. Maybe can reach out to me and I'll find him a place to stay in the New England area so that he can find housing for his time in New England because he's being traded to the Patriots. That would be ideal. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of that simple for me. It's another they should win game. Keep it right there. Not much to it. They're facing a quarterback that's not very good. They're facing a defense that's, it's a solid defense. This is a team that's better than the last 2 games, right? So it's a little bit more of a challenge. It's not a game that you go into and say it's just a take care of business win, but it's a game that you say, they should win type of game.
Yeah.
So it's just, let's see them do it again. Let's get to 6-2, and then we'll talk about the Falcons. And at that point, things could be looking. Oh man, we'll be right. I'm already on a high note right now, and I'm trying not to get a little too high. But
7-2 through 9 games would be something going into week 10.
Oh yeah,
boy.
Oh yeah.
I'd be feeling something. If you
I'd have to look back. I think it was Phil Perry talked about going into the I think it was the Bucs game, that the Patriots could realistically be anywhere between roughly 500 team to a 7-2 team going into that Bucs game, depending on how things go. Real quick, just on the Browns, if you look at the team that so far this year, you could admit there's really only one realistic argument for them being having an impressive signature win, and that would be that the week 3 they defeated the Packers 13-10. The Ravens put up a 41 spot. The Lions put up 34. Even the Steelers, who have a league average offense, somewhere in that range, they put up 23 points. I think the Patriots are better than league average. So, this is a game where, if you look at the Ravens schedule, when they play good teams, now granted, they played the Bengals week 1. The Bengals are a notorious slow starting team. I think prior to this year, they hadn't won an opening week game with Zach Taylor in the 7 years he's been the head coach or something crazy like that. But again, they played the Ravens. Ravens hung a 41 spot. Lions 34, Vikings 21. It feels like a team that's their defensive stats are a byproduct of either playing teams that are slow starters or not playing good teams, right? You play the Dolphins, not a good team. Steelers, average team. Vikings, average team. Maybe slightly above average, good, not great. But then when they play the good teams, Lions, Ravens, they give up 75 points in 2 games to those 2 teams. So, I do feel pretty confident in a should win. So take care of business, and then hopefully they can continue to embarrass and humiliate Atlanta Falcons fans because they can't get Super Bowl 50 51 out of
Yeah.
their heads.
And then give me a Colts loss, so the Patriots are the number 1 seed in the AFC, so I can
Yes,
just
please.
be insufferable. I'll just be absolutely insufferable.
You know,
But-
Matt.
all right.
Normally, I don't like your insufferability, but in that moment, I would wholeheartedly be right behind you. The one thing I will say is that if the Patriots win next week and the Colts lose, there is not a scenario next week where the Patriots take over the number 1 seed in the
All right,
AFC.
shut up. Goodbye. All right, that's gonna do it for this week.
But be insufferable. Be insufferable that they have the best record in the
yeah.
AFC.
All right, that's gonna do it for this week. Hopefully, we'll be back with another Pats win, and they'll be 6-2,
baby.
tied for the 1 seed, I guess.
Yeah.
But all right, until next week, we'll raise the banner. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Let it.